Morning, I'm going to call to order the. Doesn't say. The Ethics Commission, Rhode Island Ethics Commission meeting for September 30th, 2025. Having quorum present. Normally tells me what meeting of the year it is, but doesn't this time. The first item on the agenda is a motion to approve the minutes of the open session held on September 9th, 2025. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Rabideau, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Susie. Roll call vote, Commissioner Susie,
Aye.
Commissioner Browner. Aye. Commissioner Callahan.
Aye.
Commissioner Centerini.
Aye.
Commissioner Peterson.
Aye.
Mr. Rabideau.
Aye.
Commissioner Ritchie. Aye. The chair votes aye. I want to let everybody know now that we're going to take this agenda somewhat out of order. Was it, Commissioner Peterson has a hard stop at 11. But I would like her to be present for the discussion and vote on the proposed regulatory amendments. But we're going to take the director's report first. We're going to take the advisory opinion of Sonia Frias second because she's present. And then we're going to go to the discussion and vote on the regulatory amendments. So.
Okay,
Floor is yours.
thank you. Good morning. Let's zip through this pretty quickly. Director's report this morning. In complaints and investigations, we continue to have 6 total complaints pending. Don't have a lot of updates in any of the cases, really. Just briefly in the Thorson complaint, we're still looking to schedule an adjudication. We don't have a date yet. And the same goes with Heidi Weston Rogers complaint. We are tentatively looking at an adjudication date of December 16th on that matter. So take a look at your schedules for that. Then just moving down the list, the Jonathan Pascua complaint is still under investigation, and that's for you today in executive session. For a motion, James Durkin under investigation, Jeffrey McCormick under investigation, and then John Hoyle Jr., that is the financial disclosure non-filing complaint. That's going to be before you today for a probable cause hearing. Moving on to advisory opinions. We have 3 on today's agenda, and I think that may be all of our AOs. We don't have any outstanding right now. As of yesterday afternoon, we've resolved one of the outstanding ones. We'll have plenty by the time we meet again. Don't worry.
Darn.
Yeah. APRA requests, we had just 4 since the last meeting. We completed all of them within 1 business day, as we do. Those related to 2 of them related to comments on the gift rule amendments. One had to do with a request for recusal forms, and one was seeking some complaint related materials. Again, they were all granted within 1 business day. Today we are having a rulemaking discussion and potential vote. Say potential vote. You don't have to vote, but you might vote today on the rulemaking. And then just in general office administration, I'll note that our next meeting is scheduled for October 21st. So we have, I guess, 3 weeks for the next meeting. And I just want to note that annually the commission elects its officers, and it's that time to elect officers again. That's chair, vice chair, and secretary. And we're going to schedule that one for the first meeting in November. So that gives everyone some time to, those of you who are serving as officers, to decide whether you want to continue serving and whatever else needs to be considered before that. So that'll be whatever the first meeting in November is. We'll have that on the agenda. That's all I have.
Well, thank you. Thanks. It is, by the way, the 14th meeting of the year. Thanks to Mr. DeSimone. And I would now ask to take up the Sonia Frias advisory opinion.
Good morning, everyone. The
Morning.
draft for this petitioner is at tab B in your binders. Welcome, Ms. Price. Thank you. Petitioner works as an environmental scientist for the Rhode Island Department of Health. She seeks an advisory opinion as to whether the Code of Ethics prohibits her from serving in her private capacity as a co-author for a paper to be published in a scientific journal, which incorporates the use of data that the petitioner compiled as part of her public duties and later requested and received in her private capacity through the state's Access to Public Records Act. Ms. Frias has been with RIDO for 15 years, the last 14 of which she has been assigned to the Center for Drinking Water Quality. During the past year, the center conducted a study for PFAS chemicals present in Rhode Island water. Petitioner's public duties included managing the collection of study samples and compiling the resulting data. The study was completed in July of this year. Shortly thereafter, a representative from the University of Rhode Island submitted an APRA request to RIDO seeking the sample results from the study. The request was reviewed by RIDO's legal department and the samples were deemed to be public information. The petitioner assisted with the collection of the sample results so that RIDO could respond to URI's APRA request, which it did. Ms. Frias has informed us that RIDO intends to use the data from the study to publish a paper in collaboration with URI. Ms. Frias states that she has been asked by a former RIDO colleague who recently relocated to Pennsylvania to serve as the co-author of a scientific paper that he is writing about PFAS, which he intends to have published in at least one scientific journal. This is something that the petitioner would like to do. Sometime after RIDO responded to URI's APRA request for data from the study, the petitioner submitted her own APRA request to RIDO. It included the same information that had been requested by URI and additional information as well. The petitioner emphasizes that she made her APRA request in her private capacity outside of her regular business hours using her personal email address. She states that following the review of her request by RIDO's legal department, the data was deemed to be public information and was sent by RIDO to the petitioner at her personal email address. Petitioner represents that she has analyzed the data that she obtained from RIDO in response to her APRA request, and that she plans to incorporate that data into the paper that she has been asked to co-author. She explains that she will also offer comments and suggested edits to the other author of the paper as appropriate. Ms. Frias emphasizes that she will not use confidential information that she acquired during the course of and by reason of her public duties as co-author of the paper. She further emphasizes that she will not receive compensation of any kind for her contribution to the paper, nor will she derive any other direct financial benefit from it. The petitioner has received permission from her supervisors at RIDO to contribute as co-author to the paper, but her supervisors have withheld permission for the petitioner to disclose her affiliation with RIDO in the paper. These are the facts that form the basis of the petitioner's inquiry of the Ethics Commission regarding whether she is prohibited by the code from co-authoring the paper. Here, the petitioner is inquiring about action to be taken in her private capacity and for which she has received permission from her supervisors at RIDO. Although she will be making use of certain data that she compiled as part of her public duties, the data was deemed by RIDO's legal department to be public information, which Ms. Frias sought and received in her private capacity through the Access to Public Records Act. She will not be compensated for her contribution to the paper. Therefore, her proposed activity neither constitutes secondary employment, which is the subject of section 3614(5)(b), nor use of her public office or confidential information for financial gain, which are the subjects of sections 5C and 5D. Accordingly, it is the opinion of staff that the petitioner is not prohibited by the Code of Ethics from serving in her private capacity as a co-author for the subject paper under the circumstances described in the draft. I'm happy to respond to your questions or to defer to Ms. Frias as you deem appropriate.
Morning, Ms. Frias.
Fine,
Welcome.
thank you.
You've obviously seen the proposed advisory opinion before you came here,
Yes,
and you've had a chance to talk to Ms. Radicious to your heart's content, probably.
that's correct.
Do you have any questions or concerns to reflect to us?
Not at this time. Thank you.
Hopefully never. Um, Questions, comments from the members of the commission?
I just have I guess a question, relevant, not necessarily relevant to Mr. Rice, but is there ever a concern, relative to, like the publishing of this information and it being used for profit by the journal itself, by the periodical? A broader question. Is that ever a concern for us, or is that just too far down, the thread? That makes sense?
It makes perfect sense. I'm just trying to make sure that I don't let
No,
the word
no,
out and answer.
Please
I do
do. I
not-
just didn't. So you, please do.
In this particular situation, I do not see the potential of the journal profiting from this article as an issue. It will not directly financially impact the petitioner. There were some, this one didn't just jump out.
Got it.
This required this was one at first glance. I'm like. But when you have the blessing of your state supervisor, that helped.
Thank you.
I just want to make a comment about the forever chemicals, right? This is what PFAS are, is forever chemicals. And I come from a fire service family. And it contributes in some great part to the increased rates of cancer in firefighters. So I think it's incredibly important work, and I'm glad that it looks like it's working out. And just, thank you for doing it, because I know you don't get paid, and that's a labor of love to contribute to a journal.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Is there a motion to approve and issue the advisory opinion as presented by the staff? Sorry. Motion by Commissioner Peterson, second by Commissioner Callahan. A roll call vote, Commissioner Susan.
Aye.
Commissioner Browner.
Aye.
Commissioner Callahan.
Aye.
Commissioner Centerini.
Aye.
Commissioner Peterson.
Aye.
Mr. Ragadu.
Aye.
Commissioner Ritchie.
Aye.
The chair votes aye. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good job.
Just a short appearance.
Well done.
Well done, you won.
For educational purposes.
She was late for the lesson.
Thank you, everyone.
Have that kind of power.
All right, we are now going to skip to item, I think that's right, Mr. Second.
Right, Mr. Knight.
No, I know Mr. Knight's not here. Mr. Squally's not here, is he?
No, he's not coming. He had a business meeting.
Want to make sure. In that case, we'll move to item 8 on the agenda, which is a discussion and vote on proposed regulatory amendments to the Code of Ethics gift rule. In terms of the gift limits and the definitions of interested persons. We have for us, materials were provided to us in complete detail. We have seen the proposed rules. We've discussed the proposed amendments. We've received public comment and held a public hearing. I believe there was additional public comment that came after the public hearing that we've been provided. I didn't count it up, but there are many members of the public who have commented beyond those who were here. And I guess I would start by asking Mr. Grammett to confirm that, at least as far as we know, all requirements under rulemaking procedures and statutes have been met.
Correct.
So this is the last step in terms of our involvement, and after that, it's merely publication, is that right?
Right, if you vote to adopt either of these, we'll call it a proposed amendment or amendment, then your vote will direct me as your administrative officer to take all the steps that are necessary to file with the Secretary of State's office, which just involves a bit of paperwork, quite a bit of paperwork, to be honest, but and then once I've filed that, the regulation or the amendment will become effective either within 20 days of my filing, or if you want it to become effective at a different time, we can specify that also. So if you want this to become effective, say January 1st, 2026, we can make that happen too. But unless we put a different date in, it will become effective 20 days after.
in my vote boxes here, it purports to have us discussing both at the same time. I presume we would all think it easier to start with the gift rule and then go separately to the question of definition. Is that fair? So, but then I would like to open it up without a motion at this point to discussion regarding the proposed amendment to the gift limits, which would change our current amounts of $25 per gift or 75 in the aggregate to $50 per gift and $150 in the aggregate from the same source. I think that is the extent of the proposed amendment on gift limits. So I'll open the discussion to anyone who wishes to speak to it.
Well, I don't mind breaking the ice, so I thought in our previous, terms of information gathering, the public comment, I thought there was just tremendous amount of important information, constituency. It does make sense to me, to, update the rules, and I know there was, some clarity as to what the inflation rate is and what does $25 mean today as it meant to yesterday, but I also think there's a component of this in creating a rule that might give us some space on the front, backside, I guess, another few years. In terms of monetary compensation, does make sense to me. But I did have an opportunity just to share with the group that I do believe, monetary limits aside, it is incumbent on the public official to have great clarity on what they may consider artificial influence in terms of gift giving. And that may be based on the actual retail cost of a gift, or it may be related to, a personal gift that maybe doesn't have the same relative monetary cost, but means something differently. But I just, after kind of going through all the material, don't want to lose sight of the fact that I believe the public official does have a significant role here in what he or she determines the reasoning behind a gift, whatever the cost.
Mr. Rabbit.
I'm gonna follow up and support that, but for a different reason. One of the things I noted during the public testimony and in reviewing all of the public's responses that we received by email. Many people were concerned primarily with the legislature. And excuse me, the 112 or whatever legislators that we have in this state. But this gift rule applies to all municipal employees, to all of the people that serve on these little boards. I mean, before I was appointed here, I was on the board of canvassers for the town of Burville, and that gift rule applies to me. And I think sometimes I've seen here where there are overzealous individuals who are monitoring all members of these small local communities, and they look for these little things sometimes. So I think an inflationary adjustment from $25 up to $50 just provides that little buffer zone for the locally appointed and elected officials to know that they're in a safe zone with friends and colleagues in town. The guy who delivers oil, who knows the member of the town council, but he also delivers oil for the school. Those things happen in small towns. And I think that, going to $50 it's not gonna hurt. It's gonna be a benefit in that regard.
Comments?
The existing limits have been in existence for 20 years. I start off with the premise. The people who went to public service do so for good reasons. And I don't think a adjustment based upon inflation should diminish, at least from my perspective, that I have a belief that people enter public service for good reasons. And I don't think the adjustment will in any way negatively impact that commitment on behalf of people.
Yeah. Well, I just would like to say that I do think we received an awful lot of public comment urging us not to raise the limit. And many public comments to eliminate the gift rule completely and prohibit gifts of all kinds. I also think I want to make it clear here that what we're talking about are gifts, not campaign donations. That's a whole different world. And in response to, I'm in agreement with you about raising the number at this point. I don't have a problem with that, really. Even though the public was less happy with that, but to respond to what you raised, Commissioner Callahan. These rules work when people comply, and in the context of gifts, they have to disclose it on their financial form every year out of their gifts. But as we've seen in our experience, for those of you, I think we've all been through this, we only become pretty much aware of a gift violation if somebody reports it or it comes up in a news report. Otherwise, they're kind of out in the ether. And that's why what Commissioner Callahan said is so important, is that the public official is the one who's, so to speak, back it is on. And we have to rely on public officials meeting their obligations under our regulations. So I just say those things because to make this really work, public officials have to fill out the financial forms honestly. And what's going to happen, not because of any change we make, but at some point or another, a gift is going to come out that somebody didn't report, and that's going to become the basis of a violation before us. And again, it doesn't matter how much. Somebody's going to fail to report on our financial form. Somebody else is going to know about it in a small town. They'll wait till the financial form is filed, and then they'll snap right on in. So it probably doesn't eliminate the problem. But if there's one thing that I urge, and I think we're all urging, it's for public officials to take the financial reporting form seriously and to avoid a problem by properly disclosing gifts and properly only accepting gifts as permitted by our regulations. Want to close the door again? Anybody else care to say anything? Is there a motion to amend Commission Regulation 1.4.2 parentheses capital B and parentheses gifts as proposed by raising the current limit of fair market value or actual cost per individual gift or other thing of value, $25 to $50 from a single interested person? We're going to take the two parts separately. So the first question is on the $50. Is there such a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Centarini.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Rabideau. Any further discussion? A roll call vote, Commissioner Susie,
Aye.
Commissioner Browner.
Aye.
Commissioner Callahan.
Aye.
Commissioner Centarini.
Aye.
Commissioner Peterson.
Aye.
Commissioner Rabideau.
Aye.
Commissioner Ritchie.
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. Secondly, is there a motion to amend Commission Regulation 1.4.2 parentheses capital C and parentheses gives? No, I'm sorry. Thank goodness for my left-hand man here. Is there a motion to amend Commission Regulation 1.4.2 parentheses B at gifts as proposed by raising the current limit for the aggregate fair market value or actual cost of gifts or other things of value in a calendar year from $75 to $150 from a single interested person? Is there such a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Rabbit, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Browner, roll call vote, Commissioner Susie,
Aye.
Commissioner Browner,
Aye.
Commissioner Callahan.
Aye.
Commissioner Centerini,
Aye.
Commissioner Peterson,
Aye.
Commissioner Rabideau,
Aye.
Commissioner Ritchie.
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. All right. Second. The second part of this is to amend the definition of interested persons to include lobbyists. The gift rule presently prohibits public officials from accepting expensive gifts from an interested person, which is defined to mean a person or entity with a direct financial interest in decisions made by the public official. While this definition has historically been understood to include gifts from lobbyists to the public officials they lobby, lobbyists for not-for-profit entities may not fit neatly into this definition. This amendment to subsections C and D of 1.4.2 seeks to expressly prohibit expensive gifts from all lobbyists to the public officials they are lobbying. I would open up this matter to any discussion. Commissioner Centerini.
I think it's an important inclusion to address the nonprofits, and I would be in favor of the amendment.
Any other comments? Questions? Concerns? Is there a motion to amend commission regulation 1.4.2 capital C gifts as proposed in the notice of proposed rulemaking? That would be as to the definition. I think I'm gonna restate that because that's too vague for me. Is there a motion to amend commission regulation 1.4.2 C gifts as proposed in 1.4 to C1 to expand the definition of interested person to expressly include businesses or other entities, whether for profit or not for profit, or representatives of such entities that have a direct financial interest in a decision that the person subject to the code of ethics is authorized to make, or to participate in the making of as part of his or her official duties. That seems equally unclear to me,
But that's the language of the proposed
Exactly.
amendment.
right.
It just tracks the language of the proposed amendment. That tracks the language in proposed amendment C1.
C1, business or other entity, whether for profit or not for profit or other entity. So those are the words being added. That's at page 44 of your materials, if it matters to you. Is there a motion to approve that amendment?
So moved.
All right, there's a motion by Commissioner Callahan, second by Commissioner Centerini. Roll call vote, Commissioner Susie,
Aye.
Commissioner Browner.
Aye.
Commissioner Callahan.
Aye.
Commissioner Centerini.
Aye.
Commissioner Peterson. Mr. Rabideau.
Aye.
Commissioner Ritchie.
Aye.
The chair votes aye. Second part of this. Yeah. Second part of this. Oh, yes. Second part of this is to change the definition of an interested person to expressly include all registered lobbyists and lobbying firms and the persons, businesses, and entities that engage them, whether they be for profit or not for profit. This brings lobbyists under our umbrella, as you know, or under the gift umbrella. Is there any discussion at this point? Is there a motion to approve the proposed amendment to regulation 1.4.2 C as proposed to expand the definition of interested person to expressly include all registered lobbyists and lobbying firms and the persons, businesses, and entities that engage them, whether they be for profit or not for profit. Is there such a motion?
So move.
Motion by Commissioner Celerini,
Second.
second by Commissioner Rabideau. A roll call vote, Commissioner Susie,
Aye.
Commissioner Browner, Commissioner Callahan.
Aye.
Commissioner Celerini.
Aye.
Commissioner Peterson,
Aye.
Commissioner Rabideau,
Aye.
Commissioner Ritchie.
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. The last piece of this. So this is the last piece of this, I think. No, there's several pieces of this. So people write about the easier one. Right this way, you've all read the amendments that are proposed to the rest of 1.4.2 D, which involve,
C or D.
I think we're finished with C, aren't we? Did I say C? I meant D, we're moving to D.
Yeah, we finished C.
We're finished C.
We're on D now.
Okay.
And we're going to the the proposed amended regulation. Which indicates that these prohibitions do not apply if the gift or thing of value is given in the form of food or beverage for immediate consumption.
Okay.
Remember, Mr. Marion had discussed that, and proposed D 3 and 4 really deal with that issue.
Okay.
And so this is the one that basically exempts or accepts attendance at a fundraiser or whatever, as long as everybody's been invited. And then the gift rule, I guess, will not apply to those folks.
Isn't, I'm sorry to interrupt,
Go ahead, please.
but 3, so D3 also,
Right.
it's different than that. It also applies that if the gift is coming from someone who is a nonprofit lobbyist, but they do not lobby in front of the group that you are a member of, then they are no longer an interested person because they don't meet the definition of C1.
Correct.
So, for example, I could have dinner with someone who's a lobbyist, but lobbyists are not coming before us and it would not count.
Correct.
Okay. So that's a little separate from the General Assembly.
Correct. Any other comments, questions from the commissioners? So I guess I'm gonna say, is there a motion to amend the regulations to provide that the prohibitions do not apply if the gift is given to a public official or employee who is not a member or employee of the state or municipal agency that the interested person is lobbying? That would be amendment to subsection 3. Is there a motion?
So,
Motion by Commissioner Callahan, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Peterson. Any further discussion?
Just for clarification, if that individual no, I'm not going to address it.
Any other discussion? There being none, roll call vote, Commissioner Susie.
Aye.
Commissioner Browner.
Aye.
Commissioner Callahan. Aye. Commissioner Celerini.
Aye.
Commissioner Peterson.
Aye.
Commissioner Rabideau.
Aye.
Commissioner Ritchie.
Aye.
The chair votes aye. The last one is the exemption or exception for food and beverage for immediate consumption at a reception or fundraiser to which all General Assembly or statewide officers, that's not an and, that's an or, are invited and is hosted not more than once a year by a not-for-profit entity that does not have a financial interest in a decision that the person subject to the Code of Ethics is authorized to make or to participate in the making of as part of his or her official duty. Discussion?
And I guess it's that last part that I'm concerned with, because how can the for or not-profit entity not be an interested person? We've just said that all nonprofits are interested persons, so it's been a long time since anybody invited me to
No,
anything.
lobbyists, lobbyists for nonprofits.
But, okay, go ahead, Jason. Yeah.
Please,
As defined in C1, C2 are the right? Not we just changed.
C one is someone with a direct financial interest, not necessarily a policy interest.
C2 is the nonprofit
Yeah.
lobbyists.
Okay.
C1 is the regular, I have a direct financial interest in what I'm talking to you about.
Got it. Thank you.
further questions, comments? Is there a motion to approve or to amend Commission Regulation 1.4.2 D to expressly provide that the prohibitions do not apply to food and beverage for immediate consumption at a reception or fundraiser to which all General Assembly or statewide officers are invited and is hosted not more than once a year by a not-for-profit entity that does not have a financial interest in a decision that the person subject to the code of ethics is authorized to make, to participate in the making of as part of his or official duty. Is there a motion?
So move.
Motion by Commissioner Centerini, is there a second? Second. Second by Commissioner Browner. Any further discussion? Roll call vote, Commissioner Susie,
Aye.
Commissioner Browner. Aye. Mr. Callahan.
Aye.
Commissioner Centerini.
Aye.
Commissioner Peterson.
Aye.
Commissioner Rabideau.
Aye.
Commissioner Ritchie. Aye. The chair votes aye.
Mr. Chairman,
I have one other, yes, please, Commissioner Centerini.
no, go ahead.
The council has suggested that we also formally adopt the regulatory analysis prepared and submitted by the executive director in support of the rule change. I don't know that it's necessary, but in light of recommendation of council, I'm going to ask if there's a motion to adopt the regulatory analysis that the executive director and staff prepared and submitted to us for consideration. So is that a motion?
I would so move, but I would also say I found that information extremely pervasive in my thinking process in evaluating this. And I would like to express my appreciation to the executive director and staff.
So you made the motion, yes? Is there a second? Second by Commissioner Browner. Motion on the floor is a motion to adopt the regulatory analysis. Further discussion?
What do you mean by adopt? And what are we doing with it? Just,
I guess we're affirming it for use by the staff and the executive director when they comply with the requirements of the rulemaking statutes.
I'm required to file this
Okay.
as part of the next step, which
Yeah.
I could do without you making this motion, but with you making the motion, it really clarifies to me that the commission agrees with the regulatory analysis that I'm going to file.
I think it's a good predicate to have in case recognition's challenged.
sure.
Motion's been made, seconded, I think, by Commissioner Browner. I opened it up to further discussion. I think we've had that, so I'll take a roll call vote. Commissioner Susie,
Aye.
Commissioner Browner.
Aye.
Mr. Callahan.
Aye.
Commissioner Centerini.
Aye.
Commissioner Peterson.
Aye.
Commissioner Rabideau.
Aye.
Commissioner Ritchie. And the chair votes aye. Before we finish, echoing what Commissioner Centerini has said. Been on the commission for 4 years. Commissioner Strauss, who's not here today, has been on the commission slightly longer than I, but I believe it's the first time he would have gone through rulemaking. It's certainly the first time I've gone through rulemaking.
Me too.
And I want to comment that from the beginning, starting with Mr. Marion's presence here, continuing through public hearing, executive director and staff's effort to present the materials to us, it has been exemplary. It has been incredibly helpful. The regulatory analysis, as with Commissioner Centerini, was really useful to me. I don't know about anybody else. I'll also say that the reports that we asked throughout this process to be given to us from the staff were responsive and helpful, particularly, I'll say, the attempt to find a national
model or number that seem to be out there. So I know I speak for myself, and I'm sure I speak for the rest of the commission, that we cannot thank staff enough, and executive director enough for how this was presented to us. I won't take a motion on that.
Did you want to address at this moment, implementation, is that part of?
Oh, well, there's a separate question.
I think, with regard to the increase in the limits, I think we should consider making it effective January 1. The others could go within the 20 days. But or making everything effective January 1?
Yeah, it's-
What,
Yes, I'll ask it this way, just because. Is there a motion to make the amendments which we've made today, all of them, effective January 1, 2026? Is there a motion to that effect?
Some,
Motion by Commissioner Susie,
I'll second.
second by Commissioner Callahan. Discussion?
Yes, I think it should be sooner the better.
I'm just suggesting, a harder date that allows for, the sharing of the information, allows for any type of speed bumps that the director may face as he goes down the road, and coincides essentially with the start of the state legislative season, so that's my suggestion.
Other comments, questions?
Oh, sorry.
No,
I would go with the new year, just so that it's clear for reporting purposes, people don't get confused about when they can and can't take extra gifts. I think it's 3 months left in the year, getting the messaging out and clear to everybody might be difficult in that time frame. So I would be in support of making the gift change for January 1, for the definition of who is into the party. Fine with that being effective as soon as practical.
I think that's my main concern, part of who is the interested party. Not so much the part of the gift itself. So that's my concern. Sooner the better on that.
So the motion was made by Commissioner Callahan, who made the motion.
oh, I made the motion.
Yeah,
Alan
Susan,
seconded.
I think if what I'm hearing is correct, there's a motion effectively being made to amend the motion on the floor to focus only on, press first, the effective date of the new gift limits being January 1, 2026. Is that a fair statement of what your position would be here? Would you accept that amendment? We will take up the second half either
Okay.
way.
Then yes,
So the only thing before us right now are the effective dates of the amendments, other than the amount of the gifts. Is that correct? That's everybody's understanding.
I'm sorry, can you say that again?
I said, what we're gonna take in the first motion is the effective date of everything except the gift amount. So if they become effective, I think that without a date, they become effective
Within 20 days.
upon,
yeah.
And then there'll be a vote on an effective date of the
Gift
amended
amount.
amounts.
correct?
Yeah.
So what's before you first is a motion. I think Commissioner Susie's accepted the amendment, so the first motion is a motion to make the new regulations.
I think,
Maybe
I
the
think,
simple way is to
I
keep
think,
it
I think we should withdraw the motions
That's fine.
maybe and have a new motion.
Okay.
Maybe Commissioner Ritchie
Could,
could
could,
propose a
could,
motion.
could I just ask, does the splitting of the effective date impact in any type of negative way upon the executive director's compliance with the administrative rule process? I'd like that information before I consider voting on any.
If we do nothing today, if I understand correctly, they become effective in 20 days, everything, correct?
20 days after I file.
Actually, fine. So what we're talking about here is whether some piece of this is gonna be made effective on January 1. And I think Commissioner Susie, you'll withdraw your
I will.
motion and the amendment will be withdrawn and we'll start back over. So it seems to me that the motion that we have to deal with really is whether we're gonna, because I think that I can hear the consensus, we don't have to vote on that, the effective date of the non-monetary numbers, because that'll be effective upon filing and reporting or whatever has to be done. So I think the only motion that we have to take up is whether we will make the new dollar amounts effective either immediately or at some other date.
Could, through the chair, is it possible to solicit from the executive director whether splitting the effective dates causes any negative impact on his compliance with the regulatory
That's my
process?
Of course you may.
So, I have a couple of, points. Just to the limits first. I do think that it's important that we make the limits start on January first rather than in 20 days. And there's a reason for this that's outside of what we've discussed so far, and I'd want to bring it to your attention also. There is a section of our financial disclosure laws, and you alluded to it in the beginning of your presentation where you mentioned that people have disclosed their gifts and their financial disclosure. We actually don't disclose that any longer. And we haven't ever since the commission brought it down to the 2575 limits. So there's a section of the financial disclosure law that says if you've accepted gifts worth more than $100 from any single source, you have to disclose that on your annual financial disclosure statement. And that used to happen when the limits were 150, 450. People would accept more than $100 in gifts, and then they would have to disclose those gifts on their financial disclosure statement. In 2005, when the commission reined it in and said, that's too much, let's go to 25 and 75 as the aggregate limit, it kind of nullified that section of the financial disclosure law because now no one is allowed to accept gifts in the aggregate worth more than $100. So we removed that question from the financial disclosure statement. It no longer appears on the statement. Given that we've now raised the aggregate limit up to 150, that becomes relevant again, and we will need to add that question back to the financial disclosure statement again. And we don't really have time to do that for 2025. So if we make this change effective in 2026, then that question will appear in 2027 when we're looking back at 2026. If everyone is following that. So that gives us time to get all of that done. That's the first part as to the limits. As to the question of whether it would be better or easier for us or important for us to have the same effective date for both. My request would be that we do have the same effective date for both. It's going to make my filing process much simpler. I'm not going to file immediately after today's meeting. There's some drafting I need to do. I need to make sure I've got certain forms filled out properly. I have some narratives I'm going to have to write and upload. So I probably won't do that filing. At the earliest, it would be the end of this week, and more likely that filing is going to take place next week, or maybe even a little bit thereafter. Having a solid date, one date for all the changes to the gift rule would make the staff's life a little simpler and would probably simplify things in terms of us getting the message out we need to get the message out. We're probably going to send an email to every registered lobbyist informing them of the change. There's about 650 registered lobbyists in the state, and we'll send an email to every single one of them with the new rule and with a concise summary of what it now.
Is that anything about the nonprofits?
And that will include the nonprofit lobbyists. Yes. So John Marion, for instance, will get an email at his Common Cause email address saying, guess what? You're now subject to the new gift rule.
You could just hand deliver it to him when he's here.
He's waving from
Chairman,
Commissioner Ritchie.
thank you. Based upon this revelation from my esteemed director, I have no concern now.
So we have to vote then on a date, since it would take effect automatically otherwise. So is there a motion to make the amendments which we have made today effective January 1, 2026? Is there such?
All amendments.
All amendments
All
made today.
amendments, yeah.
Effective January 1, 2026.
Well, again. If the director. Is able to. Make. Within the 20-day period. That could come before January 1st, so we have to clarify that, so I refer back to you now. If you were to, get this done by, the end of November. You would have the regulation stated for January 1st, is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Okay, so the fact that you send it out, will have that prospective date.
Right, I would advise everyone that these rules go into effect January 1st, 2026.
Right.
So you're gonna file prior to January 1st?
Yeah, I'm gonna file within the
Okay,
next
that's
30 days
That date,
with the
Yeah,
effective
the
date
effective
being
date.
January.
Yeah.
People will know that when you file.
right,
Right.
All
right.
right, fine.
And this is different than what I thought we were gonna have, but, well, if you make the motion, it's different than what I thought we were doing. I thought we were just making the gift limit
So
January.
until we heard from,
Yeah.
Executive Director Graham, I think we all probably were willing to separate. I'm not sure we're willing to now based on the needs of staff. And the needs of putting this in
I totally
place.
missed that. I'm sorry. I didn't hear that from him at all.
So-
I heard that the gift limits should be January because of the forms, no, all things need to change.
He asked for all the changes.
Okay,
to be
hear
made
that,
on
sorry.
that date.
Miss it.
I think in a very important thing too is to give the staff time to educate.
Yeah.
I mean, we've been at it for a year almost. And it's been a very interesting process. I think that the staff is gonna have some challenges educating the public and public officials within a couple of months of the effective date.
And this will also give the regulated individuals time, which is important.
Nonprofits.
Yeah.
If this were to be challenged, what is the process going forward? Has ever happened before?
Well, there would be no way to challenge it back in front of the commission. So,
Right.
of course, if there were ever a challenge, I suppose where it would come would be us bringing a complaint against someone for,
Right.
say, for accepting a gift from a nonprofit, perhaps, and us applying these amendments to the prosecution, and then on appeal, if they were found in violation of the code, then on appeal, they would raise it's unconstitutional.
There is a provision, I think, in 4235 though, that allows an immediate challenge. I thought within 30 days. I don't think that's where we're headed, but I think I don't think it has to be raised only in a case of controversy. I think there's a way
By
to,
the public?
Yeah.
I think there's a way for the
That's
public to
always my
challenge, but I
original
didn't.
thought.
I think so. That would mirror how you do it. federally.
Yes,
So
right,
I
yes,
don't- I
yes.
can't imagine it wouldn't be a way to
But I
file.
don't think that affects the decision we're making, nor would it be, from what I could perceive, any basis for a complaint merely by extending the time to be effective.
Right,
on
it'll
that
be
date.
moved until someone, the actual complaint is filed, then that's right, so it'll be, yeah.
Okay. So. I think I've asked for a motion and none has been made yet. And the motion I've asked for is whether we're going to make the effective date of all of the amendments that have been approved today. Make the effective date January 1, 2026. Is there such a motion?
I'll make that motion again.
Motion by Commissioner Susie, second by. Second, Commissioner Callahan. A roll call vote, Commissioner Susie.
Hi.
Commissioner Browner. Aye. Commissioner Callahan. Aye. Commissioner Centarini.
Aye.
Commissioner Peterson.
Aye.
Commissioner Rabideau.
Aye.
Commissioner Ritchie.
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. That completes rulemaking.
Okay.
Do we want to take a 5-minute break before we pick up again, or do I have to just keep going?
You're waiting.
What is it?
Go ahead.
No, not yet.
Just plow on ahead?
Go ahead.
Okay.
It's gonna be the next.
Back to the road.
The next item on the agenda will be the advisory opinion in Jason Knight,
Right.
the Honorable Jason Knight.
Thank you.
Are we ready to go on that?
Yes.
All right, I will call that matter to the floor and I guess that would be our executive director presenting.
Well done.
Thank you.
Rulemaking is always, something the commission doesn't do a lot. So this is the continuation of the advisory opinion request of State Representative Jason Knight. Representative Knight is legislator, and he is asking whether he's prohibited by the Code of Ethics from seeking recertification to the list of court-appointed attorneys available to represent indigent defendants in criminal matters before the Rhode Island courts. Remember that Rep. Knight is not here today. I spoke with him yesterday. He had a client matter that prevented him from coming in. Although his position was, I think I answered all the commission's questions at the last meeting. I don't have anything else that I wanted to add. He has read the draft opinion. He had no comment on it. If I could paraphrase what I think his opinion is here is that, he's asked for an opinion. The commission will tell them that he can do it or he can't do it, and he appears ready to do whatever the commission tells him. So if he's allowed to do it, he's going to, and if he's not allowed to, he won't. So I think that's where we stand today. So at the last meeting, the commission made it clear that there was a difference of opinion as to what the revolving door regulation would entail when read in conjunction with the revolving door statute. And so the commission continued it for the staff to take a second look at our analysis and to bring something back to the commission. And really, the way I viewed it, and I think correctly, and I believe this, is that after looking through the facts and looking over the analysis from before and going forward, this is one of those situations where reasonable minds could look at the same facts and come to a different legal conclusion. And that happens from time to time. And when it does, what we do as a staff is we bring you what we call kind of internally a long track advisory opinion. Long track advisory opinion is where we offer two options, both of which are supported by the facts. It's just a slightly different analysis under the same set of facts. Leave it. It's not, you're the appointed commissioners of the Ethics Commission, your staff in this advisory opinion context. So in those situations where reasonable minds could differ and you are the decision makers, we're bringing you both of those options for you to decide if one or the other is more correct than the other. At the conclusion, I'll ask you to consider adopting either option one, which would say that the Code of Ethics prohibits Representative Knight from seeking recertification to the court-appointed list, or option two, which says that the Code of Ethics does not prohibit him from seeking recertification to the court-appointed. I will just briefly summarize the analysis and then be happy to answer any questions that you may have. So again, we know that Rep. Knight was on the court-appointed list prior to originally being elected to the House of Representatives. He's been in the House since 2016, so he was on the list prior to his election. And that in approximately 2019, he decided to not continue on the court-appointed list, although he continued to get elected every 2 years thereafter. So there have been few elections that have intervened since that time. The court-appointed list is something that is set forth under an executive order from the Rhode Island Judiciary. The Supreme Court is in charge of managing that court-appointed list. And I go into the basis for having a court-appointed list, that it has to do with the constitutional right of indigent people to have legal counsel. Everyone is entitled to legal representation. So this is how the court in Rhode Island, how we handle it, mostly through the public defender's office. Then there are a few agencies that also provide some pro bono services, but not nearly enough. And so private attorneys agree to go on a list of court-appointed attorneys. Interestingly, I just mentioned, I just got my Rhode Island Bar Journal yesterday. And there's an article about the court-appointed list written by Thomas Bergeron, who's a staff attorney to the Rhode Island Supreme Court. The title of the article is "A Renewed Call for Court-Appointed Counsel." And I thought I would just read you the concluding paragraph because it provides some good information about this. I just read it this morning, by the way, so the timing is interesting. So briefly, it says, the need for a court-appointed counsel is as great as ever, and it is only increasing. Since January 2021. The judiciary has appointed counsel in an average of approximately 5,700 cases per year, spanning all state courts, which equates to approximately 475 cases per month during that period. For many years now, the judiciary, in conjunction with Public Defender, CASA, and other partners, has helped shoulder the federal and state constitutional obligations placed on the entire state of Rhode Island regarding court appointment of attorneys. This is in large part due to the willingness of many capable members of the bar to serve on these panels, yet more participation is needed. All attorneys, whether they have never served on a court appointment panel or have done so previously, are encouraged to explore the opportunities to provide court-appointed legal services in Executive Order 2025. Thought those numbers were pretty significant. They were greater than what I mentioned. So I'm not going to go through the entire advisory opinion. I will simply note that I do go through the history of the revolving door laws in the state of Rhode Island. And I won't go through that entire thing unless you want me to go back or have any questions about it. But in general, and I think the author of the book that I footnoted is present here today, although I didn't know he was going to be present. You know, the main reason for these revolving door rules really came down to preventing judgeships and other high-level state employment positions, but primarily the revolving door from the legislature to the bench was the main purpose of our regulation, which came first. Most people don't understand that the General Assembly had no interest in adopting a revolving door law until the Ethics Commission took the reins and adopted the revolving door regulation. And it was after that that the Assembly said, well, we'll adopt our own. And they're the ones who added the exceptions. So the regulation didn't include those express exceptions, including the no appearance of impropriety exception. So going through to the analyses of option 1 and option 2. If you were inclined to vote for option 1 is that he may not do it because going back on the recertification list is independent contracting, not held at the time of his last election. And there are no exceptions enumerated in the regulation 1.512. That would really be the basis for saying, no, you can't do it. Just a strict construction of the regulation, not reading into it any exceptions that are present in the statutory revolving door or the municipal employee revolving, both of which do have exceptions for no appearance of impropriety. So kind of a strict constructionist argument, which you're entitled to make if you choose to say that, you know, the law is the law. This is what it says. You can't do it. That would be option 1. Option 2 takes a slightly broader analysis and asks whether prohibiting him from getting recertified to a list that he was once on, and this particular list, which is court-appointed counsel for indigent defendants, is consistent with why we have a revolving door rule in the first place. And under option 2, the analysis is that that's not really the intent of regulation 1.5.2. It was never meant to keep people off court-appointed lists. It was meant to keep members of the General Assembly off the bench for at least a year, or to keep them from being tucked into the civil service where they would now have different protections, or being tucked into some other high-paying state employee type job, but not this type of thing. And also that here, if you pick option 2, the commission is saying, we don't find there to be an appearance of impropriety under these very specific particular circumstances for a legislator who used to be on the list and only recently got off the list to go back on the list again. And given that there's no appearance of impropriety, we're going to rely on that exception, even though it's not expressly included to be consistent with the intent of the reg. We're going to apply that.
May I ask a question?
Yes.
Can you address the front side, meaning the 2016 to 2019 timeframe, where he was a representative and on the list simultaneously, and kind of provide your analysis relative to being able to be an independent contractor and to conduct those duties, since that's what he brought to the table when he got elected. And now the re-election process is essentially sort of administratively grounded him from, I know he made a choice to come off the list, but it was okay for him to be a rep and be on the list, and would have been okay right up till now if he had not taken himself off. Is that accurate?
That's accurate.
Can you?
I think what the basis is, how that,
Well, I think I know the basis. It seems, I guess I'm assessing it as an administrative flaw, perhaps, if there's understanding of the revolving door statute, I think I've got a good feel for that. But, and then I think I also see that, from what you've shared with us and what we've read, that it is also pretty clear that there's some application, in terms of option 1 as well, but it's whether, I guess maybe it's for the future, we try to include either in, a rulemaking or perhaps in this opinion that it is important that it was okay at the beginning to make, it's okay, the fact that he was a rep and the fact that he was on the list and the fact that he was able to do both until he chose from a professional perspective to stop doing that. The fact that was okay on the front side makes a lot of sense to me. And which is what I'm trying to, assess.
I think I understand where you're coming from, and that is specifically noted in the conclusions on page 8 and 9 for option 2, that if you choose option 2, the commission is saying, but we don't find an appearance of impropriety, and this is why, in these particular circumstances, he used to do this. So this, first of all, AOs don't provide precedential value to people other than Rep Knight. So, but even if people were looking to apply this, consistently, or across to other people, you're specifically saying one of the reasons why we don't see a problem here is because he used to do it. So if he hadn't ever been on the list before, maybe that would have changed the analysis somewhat. Would it have changed it enough? We don't know. But it definitely is an important part of your analysis that he did it before.
And it was okay.
And it was okay.
And it was okay.
He did it before. He got off. He didn't think it was okay.
No, he got off. His testimony was.
I'm just saying, okay.
He testified to that.
Well, he said, if I recall correctly, he didn't say specifically that he got off because he didn't think it was okay, but he implied in his mind it was not okay.
My recollection is he said he got off because of the low rates.
Yes,
Right.
that's exactly right.
That's,
I mean, that's-
okay.
That's
Okay,
what
I'll give-
Which is, I understand.
This is fine, I can appreciate that, but he still get off, okay? And, revolving doors sometimes come back and kick us, don't they? So in this situation, if we look at number two, on the necessity side, I don't buy that. Necessity should not obviate compliance. And I think that if I'm being a strict constructionist, perhaps I am. I think that, compliance with the tenet of the revolving door law, should be kept.
Mr., might I ask a
Sure.
question of the executive director? I see it somewhat different than Commissioner Callahan. The fact that he was on the list is a historical fact. I don't see it as a material controlling fact in our decision-making process. And the reason for that, I find, is on page 9 of the proposed opinion, where it cites the United States Supreme Court decision in Polk v. Dotson, where it basically states that a court-appointed attorney is free of any state control. Now, if in my mind, are we saying that the ethics rules and regulations vitiate this holding of the United States Supreme Court? I mean, if they're free of any state control, then I don't see how even the historical fact that he was on or off makes any difference. And if I were to choose between the United States Supreme Court and the interpretation, going around in the Mayberry bush, I'm going with the Supreme Court.
Can I ask a simple question?
Yep.
A non-attorney question to
Yep.
your comment? If he's not eligible to be on that list, this doesn't apply. He has to be eligible, he'll be on the list.
He's got to reapply.
And where this discussion is whether or not he's eligible to be on the list. So yes, once he's on the list, he's free of state control. But he's gotta get on the list, doesn't he?
Well, no,
Again,
he's got
that's-
to get money. He's got to get paid on behalf of a client.
I look at, and again, in my professional life. If you were grandfathered and you gave it up, shame on you, because you're not gonna get grandfathered again. You're not eligible for that grandfather. Of course, everything in my world was land use and not this, but you gave up your right to be grandfathered. You went on and did something else. Now you want to revert back to that right. And any of the administrative hearings I had ever gone to, you weren't eligible to get that right back. So that's what I'm kind of coming from on this.
But unfortunately, your analysis, the United States Supreme Court doesn't agree with it.
I
Okay.
think that to your point about what he did it before, it was fine because you can come into being a state representative with employment. That's fine. But we don't have full-time employees. So it could have been something I could see conceivably where we would say, it's not fine to go back on the list. I can't come up with an example right now, but something where like he's truly getting a bid for like a state-led inspector or something like that. I could see maybe a different circumstance, but based on what he wants to do now and the spirit and purpose of the rules of ethics and the revolving door provision, I don't see it as, I see it as an absurd result in option 2. That I don't think we have to just blindly follow.
I just want to make sure.
Clarify that, please.
Yeah, just
Talking about option 2 not being,
I'm saying that the purpose of him entering representation with a job, that is allowed, that's fine. I could see it being, so I'm agreeing with you that him being employed doing this work at the time of becoming a state rep is not really material to what we're talking about.
Correct.
And that the fact that what we should look at now is what is he gonna be doing going forward? I could see a situation in which he could have been doing something else at the time he entered becoming a representative. and it not being okay now. But based on these specific facts, what he wants to do going forward, I don't see an appearance of impropriety. I do think it would be an absurd result to say, no, we can't do this.
I, I think if you look at your analysis, again, what you're saying is that you're basing, I think, on necessity. Is that the reason? There has to be a reason why you feel that the law in effect should not be complied with. Is it necessity? Is that what you're saying? Then what is the reason?
I'm saying that the purpose of the revolving door provision is to prevent what Secretary Graham had talked about using your position as a state representative to get a beneficial job thereafter. This is not that. And so if we followed the exact construction of the regulation, it would lead to an absurd result, which is that an individual who wants to volunteer to represent indigent clients legally cannot. I think that the example of the prior advisory opinion where we told the school nurse she couldn't go back and give vaccines to her school on a volunteer basis was also an absurd result. I think sometimes following the exact letter of the regulation can lead to results that aren't intended. The purpose of the rules of ethics and revolving door provision are to prevent people from taking advantage of their position as a state rep to get something beneficial on the way out. That's not what's happening here at all.
Here he's getting something beneficial while he's being compensated by the state of Rhode Island for these services. The revolving door statute, I see it, precludes that. So again, I go back to necessity should not be.
But I can't comprehend how you say that takes precedent over the United States Supreme Court decision. I can't comprehend that.
True discussion. So, just in terms of so are we suggesting there's a bifurcation between who pays the bills and who is responsible for the conduct of the individual? I guess that's what, again, I think I'm in complete agreement with your assessment, Commissioner. I think we're saying similar things. My point as a layperson was, if this particular rep was in a position to be on this list and to be a rep simultaneously, and is able to do that according to our regulations legally, ethically, and morally, in perpetuity, as long as those two things are aligned, and then of course he chose to come off. I'm suggesting that this is more in terms of an administrative speed bump as opposed to, a significant ethical, moral issue. That's all.
I have a hard time seeing the fact that he was on it once makes it okay to come back. Because he was not in violation. Well, he was in violation because no one said anything. The law was still there.
That's not
He
true.
was not in violation because the reg allows him to hold on to any job he had when he came on.
Right.
Yeah, but again, when he came on, the fact he's gonna not be compensated by the legal assistance monetary aspect, that changes the whole equation.
No,
He
he
was
wasn't.
Not at all.
He was
But
compensated.
but at the time, there was still never a complaint. It was never-
Commissioner, he was on the list before. He was being paid when he did work on the list before. He came off the list because he chose to, and now he's asking to go back on the list and to be compensated. To be compensated when he does the work permitted by that. list.
Yes, and that's where the revolving door, when he came back on again and tried to go back on again, that's the revolving door, and that's what we have to live by.
But the comment, I believe, is, and this is, I think, what Commissioner Callahan is getting at, was perfectly okay, and would have been perfectly okay for him to be doing it right now, if he hadn't simply taken his name off. It was, what were your words, morally, ethically, you had another word in there, for it was okay then. So it's only because he came off and now wants to go back on that we have the problem. That's what the reg covers, by the way.
I agree, but the fact that he did come off and come back on, he's now falls within the purview of the statute.
That's
So,
right.
and to deconstruct that statute is something I'm not comfortable with.
That's your call.
Anybody else have a comment? Because I do. Go ahead. No, you go. I go last.
I really struggled with this one in reading, going back and forth. Especially as a non-attorney maybe. But it kept coming back to the fact for me that there isn't a appearance of impropriety. That it's not being looked at, oh, I'm gonna become a judge because I defend, and get paid by the state. I see it as a higher purpose. It's so important in our society that all citizens have this right, and I can't. I have to, hats off to him, let him go back on. He's willing to do work that so many others are not. And people deserve that. They deserve to have representation. So that for me, that's my bottom line.
My comment from day one has been that I don't accept that he's either an employee or a true independent contractor of the state of Rhode Island. He's only being paid to perform the service that he's providing. This gets right to your point about support, the service that he's providing as an independent lawyer to the defendant. Not, in fact, if he were to do anything in favor of the state of Rhode Island, he would be violating his ethical requirements as a lawyer. So I was troubled by this opinion that said no the first time. I'm happy, fine supporting the opinion option 2 this time. I don't think it has the effect that you're concerned about, Commissioner Ritchie. I think it is. If it was okay for him to do it before, and what he's doing now is it fits the same model, whilst other kinds of jobs would not fit, and I think that's what Commissioner Peterson is saying. This particular arrangement, which to my mind, never really should have even triggered the concern. It's just not the concern that the rule is set up to deal with. It's set up to deal with, golly gee, you think I'm doing a great job as a representative. Why don't you hire me for that nice job over there? I'll stop running and take that peach over there. And that's what the rule is supposed to prevent. This Representative Knight is not looking for any peaches here.
He did come before us, why?
Because he was concerned the way most state officials are supposed to be. He did the right thing to come to us.
I don't know. I would look at the question.
The question's been called I don't believe we actually have a motion pending, so. I'm gonna do it this way. Is there a motion to approve and issue the advisory opinion as presented by the staff in option 2? That the petitioner is not prohibited by the Code of Ethics from seeking recertification to the list of court-appointed attorneys available to represent indigent clients in criminal matters before the Rhode Island courts while serving in the General Assembly and for a period of 1 year after leaving legislative office. Is there such a motion?
So
Motion by Commissioner Callahan, second by Commissioner Susie. Any further discussion?
Does that motion as when the attorney, our attorney drafts our opinion, I respectfully request that precedent be given to the holding of the United States Supreme Court.
My only comment to that is I'm sure it will be in the opinion, but I'm not sure to what extent it's precedent for what we're doing. Okay.
Just to clarify, what will happen is I will, if this motion passes, option 1 on page 1 will be fully deleted. Option 1 on page
2.
No,
No, option no.
Option 1.
Delete.
Option 1's being deleted.
Option 1 and option 1 will be deleted from pages 7 and 8. So and we will take out the words option 2. And it will just be the response and the conclusion of the advisory. There will be no reference to option 1, or any options.
So it will issue as written, or it's not writing anything additional for us. Like this document goes out.
simply the option 1 will be excised.
You're keeping the footnote to the folks.
Yes, no, absolutely.
Absolutely.
Keeping all citations that are included in option 2.
Was there any further discussion? There being none, I will take a roll call vote on adopting option 2. Commissioner Susan,
Aye.
Mr. Browner. Aye. Mr. Callahan. Aye. Mr. Centarini.
Aye.
Commissioner Peterson.
Aye.
Mr. Rabideau.
Nay,
Commissioner Ritchie.
Nay,
Chair votes aye. The advisory opinion carries 6-2.
Before you move on to your next advisory opinion, I do just want to point out, for Commissioner Centerini's benefit primarily, but a request was made that we add some language to all of our advisory opinions noting the impact of an advisory opinion, and we did include that in all of the advisory opinions today. In this one, for instance, on page 9, if you look at the bold boilerplate in the middle of the page, the second sentence is new language that we are going to add to all advisory opinions going forward that notes that this opinion, until amended or revoked by the commission, is binding on the commission. And that those who rely on it in good faith, that if the petitioner relies on it in good faith, that they're protected in subsequent proceedings. So hopefully that fits the bill of what you were looking for.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Next item on the agenda is the advisory opinion of William J. DePasquale Jr., AICP, Town of Exeter.
This is at tab C in your binders. Mr. DePasquale wanted to be here today. He had a previously scheduled professional training with the Rhode Island DOT. He has asked that we proceed in his absence. Petitioner is the town planner for the town of Exeter, appointed by the town council in 2021. He works part-time, about 21 hours per week. As town planner, he also serves as the town's administrative officer. He cites among his duties in that capacity responsibility for evaluating applications, seeking approval of proposed minor subdivisions of property within the town. These applications were previously brought before the town's planning board for consideration and decision, but recent amendments to state land development regulations now enable a municipal administrative officer to consider and approve subdivisions on existing public roads without the involvement of the planning board, contingent on compliance with local zoning standards. Petitioner states that a preliminary application for approval of a minor subdivision includes the submission of all relevant survey plans and the completion of a checklist encompassing approximately 25 items. The petitioner was recently contacted by a land surveyor who requested a minor subdivision checklist in anticipation of filing a preliminary application for approval of a minor subdivision on behalf of a client. Upon learning of the address of the subject property from the surveyor, petitioner recognized the address to be that of the town's assistant clerk. Mr. DePasquale states that the assistant clerk is not a member of his family. He and the assistant clerk do not own or operate a business together. They do not serve together as officers or leaders for any private organization. Petitioner is not privately employed by the assistant clerk, nor is she privately employed by him. Petitioner states that neither he nor any member of his family, business associate, or private employer will be financially impacted by the minor subdivision proposed by or on behalf of the assistant clerk. Mr. DePasquale expressed concern that his involvement with an application filed by a fellow municipal employee could violate the Code of Ethics. Although the application of the assistant clerk has yet to be received by the town, the petitioner expects that filing is imminent. And given the strict deadlines associated with processing these applications, he's seeking guidance from the Ethics Commission now regarding whether he will be prohibited by the Code of Ethics from performing his public duties relative to this particular application. The code prevents a public employee from participating in a matter in his public capacity if it is reasonably foreseeable, more than conceivable, less than certain, that doing so will result in a direct financial impact to him, a member of his family, his business associate, or a business by which he is employed or which he represents. The code also states that a public employee must recuse from participating in a matter in his official capacity when his business associate or a person authorized by his business associate appears or presents evidence or arguments before his municipal agency. The code's definition of family members and business associates can be found toward the bottom of page 2 of the draft. In order to determine whether the code provisions identified in the draft are implicated, the commission must first ascertain whether the petitioner, his family member, his business associate, or any business by which he is employed or which he represents will be financially impacted by the official action that is under consideration. It is a financial impact, if a financial impact upon someone in any of the aforementioned categories is not reasonably foreseeable, then the petitioner is not required to recuse from performing his public duties relative to that particular application. The Ethics Commission has indicated that the Code of Ethics does not consider a public body to be a business, or the relationship between a public official and a public body to be that of business associates. Two previously issued advisory opinions supporting this can be found on page 3 of the draft. Here, the town is not a business by which the petitioner is employed, nor is it the petitioner's business associate. Likewise, the petitioner and the assistant clerk are not business associates. The petitioner states that the assistant clerk is not a member of his family, nor is she his employer or employee. Additionally, the petitioner states that neither he or a family member or a business associate or a private employer will be financially impacted by the minor subdivision proposed by the assistant clerk. Therefore, the provisions of the code cited in the draft are inapplicable. Accordingly, it is the opinion of staff that the petitioner is not prohibited by the Code of Ethics from performing his public duties relative to the minor subdivision application filed by or on behalf of the town's assistant clerk. I would only add at this point that a couple of days before filing his request for this advisory opinion, Mr. DePasquale was one of 40 Exeter town employees who asked for and received ethics training. 1 week earlier, I was out there to present ethics training to 40 elected and appointed officials in Exeter. Mr. DePasquale and I had a chance to discuss this at length. His letter was almost verbatim to what he approached me after the training. And when I left that night, I had pretty much told him what this advisory opinion would say. To his credit, he wanted to be an example to his community and file an advisory opinion, getting this official. He was very concerned with doing the right thing, which is admirable under any circumstance. I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Was he asked, in situations where he deemed there to be a conflict, he had to, remove himself from this, position, or whether or not someone else could be put in this place?
We talked about that. We talked about how in some towns, assessors have conflicts of interest, and they may be buddy up with a neighboring town saying, I can't touch this one. If you do it, I'll return, favor if you're ever in a jam and have a conflict of interest. He said that that's really not something that's going to happen with this particular situation, because from town to town, everything's different. Someone from another town might be hesitant to involve themselves in something of this nature. He did talk about it possibly going back to the planning board like it used to. But we decided it would be a problem for another day when there's an actual conflict. He was concerned because he and this assistant clerk work in the same building.
Any other questions? I'd just like to be clear. I know this is true, but he has no involvement in the appointment of the assistant clerk or deputy clerk.
Correct.
Correct. Council appoints the deputy clerk. Council probably appoints him, but he has no authority whatsoever over the clerk.
That is correct.
Is there a motion? Is there a motion to approve and issue the advisory opinion as presented by the staff?
So moved.
A motion by Commissioner Rabbit, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Centarini. Any other discussion? Roll call vote, Commissioner Susie,
Aye.
Mr. Browner. Aye. Mr. Callahan.
Aye.
Mr. Centarini.
Aye.
Mr. Peterson.
Aye.
Mr. Rabideau.
Aye.
Mr. Ritchie.
Aye.
The chair votes aye. Right. Next item on the agenda. The one I like reading the most, a motion to go into executive session to wit.
A motion to approve the minutes of the executive session held on September 9th, 2025 pursuant to RI General Law, section 42-46-5A 2 and 4. Secondly, in Ray John M. Hoyle Jr., complaint number NF 2025-1 pursuant to RI General Law, section 42-46-5A 2 and 4. And in Ray Jonathan Pasqua, complaint number 2025-2 pursuant to Rhode Island General Law, section 42-46-5A 2 and 4. And then a motion to return to open session. Is there a motion to go into executive session?
So move.
Motion by Commissioner Cederini, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Rabideau, Commissioner Susie,
Hi.
Commissioner Browner. Aye. Commissioner Callahan. Sorry, Commissioner Cederini,
Aye.
Mr. Peterson,
Aye.
Commissioner Rabideau.
Aye.
Commissioner Ritchie, and the chair votes aye. Thank you. Working?